to my YouTube channel, Peace Jones. Don't forget to like this video. Yes, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel and comment below, okay? If you have been here for a while, thank you so much for sticking around. And if you are new to my channel, welcome and thank you so much for joining me, okay? So tonight I have a video for you guys. It ties into my healing series called Heal With Me, and I have a really good topic to discuss, okay? So that topic is isolation can help you level up. And I'm sure you guys know of this. You kind of heard people say this, but I'm going to break it down to you tonight with 7 different points to help you better understand, okay? So let's get right into it, all right? First of all, I want to start off by sharing a little, I guess, story time, a little portion of my life where I kind of went into isolation, which I do, I'm not going to say frequently, but I would say at least once a year. And it just helps me to like refocus, really, tap into my spirituality, tap into my own personal thought processes, tap into the inner beast, and just really figure out without distractions what I want to do, what I want to accomplish, and how I'm going to go about doing it, okay? So I tend to do that about every winter, fall or winter, but this one time in particular, I think I did it for like almost a year straight. And when I came out, it was like, wow, you should do that more often, because I had accomplished so much. I had healed so much. I had like tapped into my potential on crazy levels. I was literally only talking to, I think, like 2 people, and both of those people were like really assisting me in my process. And so once I came out of that whole isolation, it was like, dang, you never realize how many distractions you have around you. And even if they aren't intentional, like people legit trying to take you away from your work, sometimes it just happens, okay? So let's get into it. Number 1, of course, like I said, you don't have these distractions, right? Now, we can tap into this on a greater level, but that would probably take me making another video. But you guys know a huge distraction is social media, okay? So if you really want to tap into your potential and isolate yourself, you're probably going to have to either limit your time, like severely limit your time on social media accounts, or you're gonna have to delete and deactivate them, okay? If you want to be serious, because it's too much of a distraction. If you ever look at your I think it's called like watch time or something like that for your apps, you will realize that you are on your apps for hours throughout the day. Those are hours that you could be brainstorming, you could be researching, you could be actually putting in the work, you could be catching up on rest, you could be eating well, cooking yourself some meal prep to try and limit the amount of time that you are trying to find food throughout the week, or limit the amount of bad food that you're paying too much money for throughout the week, or whatever it may be, exercising, whatever, right? And so you'll realize that all those hours that you're spending on your social media apps can actually be put into some deeper, more important things, okay? So that's obviously a distraction. Also, some people would say relationships are distractions, okay? So I know some people, and I don't know, like, if you want to talk about my dating series, because I also have a dating series on this channel, I would probably say otherwise. But if we're talking about healing, I might have a different perspective, right? So I do honestly believe that sometimes the people that push away relationships until they're like 50 because they want to be in full grind mode, I don't necessarily know if that's the smartest thing to do. However, in the same breath, I will say that when you are in your 20s, I don't necessarily promote like locking down into relationships, super committed relationships, marriages, because you do still have so much healing, so much growing, and so much to accomplish for yourself during those years, okay? So I mean, that's for you to decide whether or not you feel like a relationship is going to be a distraction, or if dating is going to be a distraction, right? For me, when I went into my various isolation points or periods, for better words, I more so was isolating from like social media as well as people. So not that my friends were like a huge distraction, but they definitely weren't always aligned with the goals that I was trying to accomplish and the time that I needed to like really focus and lock in, right? So this is where I mentioned before when I said, you know, sometimes it's not intentional. Like your friends won't be like, hey, I don't want you to achieve anything. Come to brunch with me. Or like, hey, I want you to fail that test. Let's go out to the club tonight. It's just like they're your friends. You know, they look for you for a good time. They look for you to party. They look for you to do this and that. And sometimes that is not aligned with whatever you're trying to accomplish at that moment, whether it be saving, whether it be purchasing a home, whether it be studying for something, whether it be just like needing time to sit back and think and level up. Okay. So those are some of the distractions that you may face, and isolation will help you with getting rid of them, okay? At least temporarily. Next, you have time to think, okay? You guys don't realize when you're when your life is constantly just rolling, day in and day out, you have this like schedule, you're getting up, you're going to exercise or go to the gym, you're going to eat your breakfast, you're going to work for however many odd end hours, you're coming back, you're working on your business, you're going back to school, you're whatever you're doing, right? Like that takes away so much time for you to think. And sometimes if you haven't realized it, when you get ready to go to sleep at night, you can't turn your brain off. I know that happens to me all the time because you're always thinking, you're always planning, you're always on the go. And then when you have time to actually like rest, you're still thinking, right? So when you go into isolation and you cut off all these extra things and extra people and circumstances and chaos that's usually taking place in your life, you have the time to really think, to sit and process things, not for you to just like scan over it, not for it to just cross your mind, but for you to really sit there and think about it, give it some thought, give it some attention, give it some time. Okay. Number 3, you have no pressure. Now, I'm not going to say you have no pressure because I think in this lifetime, we always have some type of pressure on us, especially in the United States. It's always like that constant grind, level up, let's get it on. We're on a time frame, we're on a time limit, like with everything, okay? So, not going to say there's no pressure, but you do decrease the amount of pressure that you have, as opposed to like not being in isolation, right? So, I mean, yeah, as far as not being in isolation. So when you are in isolation, you don't have as much pressure on you to perform constantly. Like you're not constantly on the go, constantly on the stage, constantly the center of attention, constantly, you know, having to perform, having to show out, having to be the best of the best, you know? And that allows you to settle back for a minute, you know, come off the stage, come off that pedestal, come out of that role that you're so used to playing and playing so well and playing so perfectly, right? And in isolation, you can actually take off those capes, take off some of that pressure, and focus in on what is really important, right? Because sometimes when we have so many people pulling us in different directions and we have so much on our plate and we have that pressure to perform, whether it's at work, whether it's in the role of a mother, whether it's in the role of a caregiver, whether it's in the role of a father, whether it's in the role of a student or a professor, you sometimes need to step back from that and just breathe and figure out what your next step is or what it is that you really want to focus on. Okay. Number 4, you have no unwanted energy. Okay. When you are in isolation, you don't have to worry about those people that are naysayers or haters or just spew out negativity. You don't have to worry about the people that are low-key in competition with you or high-key in competition with you. You don't have to worry about just energy that is unsolicited, right? You can really focus on the good vibes. You can almost create your own energy in your space. whether that means meditating, practicing yoga, praying, whatever it is. But you don't have to have that energy that would normally that you would normally not be able to prevent from being in your space, right? Because when you're not in isolation and you're out and about and you're, having different conversations, entertaining different people, going to different places, you can't really control that energy all the time, right? Like, even if you try to surround yourself by positive people, or even if you try to put yourself in certain spaces where you would hope that it would be a certain type of energy, you can't always control that when you're like mixing and mingling and entertaining people and calling people and they're calling you and whatever else, right? So, yes, number 4, you don't have that unwanted energy when you're trying to level up. Number 5, you have less self-doubt, okay? So, I feel like sometimes, and this is back to that unintentional thing, sometimes the people that we have in our lives can say things, mention things, harp on things that can cause you to kind of doubt whatever it is that you are trying to do, whatever you've set your mind to, whatever you have mentioned to them, right? So like, let's say you're a entrepreneur and you have this new great business venture that you've mentioned, and someone as close as your mother might say like, I don't really know about that. I feel like your uncle tried that and he failed horribly, and you're going to waste your money and your time, right? And even though you may be strong-willed, and even though you may already, without her even knowing so, have launched this business and it may already be about to take off, those comments sometimes can cause you to really doubt yourself, right? Or let's say you are on a weight loss journey and you have an end goal, but you're trying to drop these pounds by, I don't know, the end of the summer, and it's spring, and your friend is saying like, well, yeah, I think you can do it, but you're gonna have to do this, this, and this. And maybe your plan wasn't to do this, this, and this. Maybe you had a whole nother idea going, and that kind of discourages you, or whatever it may be, right? I just feel like sometimes when you have other people talking in your ear, it can cause you to doubt whatever it is that you're planning to do, whether it's going back to school. I know when I went back for my master's and I was trying to figure out exactly what major to choose, I kind of felt that conflict, like I talked to one person about one thing, and I talked to another person about another thing, and before you knew it, I had like 8,000 thoughts swirling in my head. I wasn't really focusing on what I truly, had set out to accomplish, or the bigger picture, or whatever it may have been. I was just like taking into account all these things that other people were saying, and it was just like I started to question things, right? So you don't want that extra doubt in your head. Not saying that you can't seek like counsel or guidance or get advice from others, but sometimes all that chitter chatter in your head can just talk you out of something that you had plans to do, okay? Number 6, it can allow you to tap into your ultimate potential. Ooh, that is what it did for me, okay? When I went into my deepest isolation and I just really leveled up, I had to sit myself down. I had to really say, look, I know you have this potential. I know you're capable. We got to drive this thing into overdrive. Like, what are you doing? Put the pedal to the metal. This is how we're going to go about it. Like I said, I also had done like a lot of healing. So I had to like clear a lot of blockages as far as like generational curses, certain thoughts, certain assumptions. Like I was working on like manifestation, prayer, faith, and it was just all coming together, right? And I was like, wow, this is something that I don't think I could have done if I was still on the scene, going out every weekend, hanging out with these friends all day long while we were just like lounging around, not doing nothing, not talking about nothing. Like I really, really had to, like tap into my potential and dig deep to realize let's go. Like, what are we doing? You know, like, let's get this. You can get it. It's right at your fingertips. You just have to tap into that, right? And so that was so valuable for me when I went into that isolation. And every other time that I do, like I said, every fall or winter, it's just like, okay, let's regroup. Let's look at ourselves. Let's be real. Let's tap into this potential. Because a lot of times people will say, like, I'm no different than you. I just went about it differently. Or I just had the hustle. I had the mentality. I had the drive. I wanted it more than you. And that's the truth, right? Even when we look at like athletes and we're like, wow, Michael Jordan. Wow, LeBron James. Wow, Kobe Bryant. But it's like, you know, granted, maybe they were better athletes. Maybe somewhere along the line in their genes, they just had it more so than others. But at the same time, they wanted it more than a lot others too. Like, they are practicing on their days off. They are putting in overtime. They are really tapping into their potential. They're believing in themselves. In their head somewhere, they have, you know, talked themselves up. They believe they can do it. They have positive self-talk, like all of that, right? So they are tapping into that potential, right? And that goes for doctors, that goes for neurosurgeons, that goes for lawyers, that goes for professors, like whoever is like really, 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 really diligent and tapped into their profession and whatever work they do that allows them to be the best of the best. That's what it takes, okay? Number 7, last but not least, it pushes you into overdrive, okay? So like I said before, my huge like awakening, I felt like I was working physically, like at a job, very hard, but I wasn't working on leveling up very hard. So I had kind of gotten to this point where I was like, oh, like I'm making good money. Oh, I can do this. Oh, whatever, whatever. And I had tapped out of like, okay, something needs to come next. You need to gain more skills. You still need to push yourself. This ain't the end of the road. Like, we still got other places to go, people to see, things to do, things to accomplish. You need to get other things under your belt, more credentials, you know, more education, whatever it may be, right? And so I had to kick it into overdrive, like, all right, well, this has been cutting it, but we don't want to just cut it. We don't want to just make it by the skin of our teeth. We want to really show out. We want to meet our potential. We want to fulfill our purpose. And that took, you know, pushing it into overdrive and really like pushing myself, challenging myself, being in uncomfortable spaces. Oh my gosh, talk about that. You know, like that's the only way you're gonna get to that next level, is if you do things that are like super, super uncomfortable for you. So that is what I did, and pushed me and propelled me into this new level. And now I got another new level. It is an ongoing process, okay? Never ending. But I wish you guys the best of luck. I definitely do recommend isolation at least once a year, and I think that it's super beneficial. It'll be super beneficial to you guys as long as you have a plan, as long as you stick to, you know, exactly what you want to accomplish. You made your vision boards hopefully at the beginning of the year. You should be tapping into that every 3 months, so every quarter, so March. And hopefully you guys can just like be super self-motivated and determined, and, you know, tap in to your fullest potential and level up. All right, so I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace